Okay, yeah, all right. Hey everybody, old Gare out here at the Fishing Shack. Welcome to this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report. God bless you. Thanks for being with us. My golly, it's been hot, hasn't it, this week? Gee, what's going on? Indian summer. Yeah, I tell you. Anyway, we've had temperatures over at 90 degrees every day. Now, I'm taping the show on Thursday, and we air it tomorrow morning on Friday. Now, I understand today, on Friday, it's going to be below 90 degrees, boy. And then our pick day for fishing this weekend will probably be on Saturday because it's going to be below 90. And then Sunday right back up to 90 degrees. It's crazy. Phew, hot. I was out at Table Rock the other day. I seen one boat. Too hot, I guess. If you are going out this weekend, no matter what, you might want to get out extra early, take plenty of water. Well, the crappie don't care how hot it is out at Lake the Ozarks, Truman, and Stockton. Golly, I've had some good reports. I was out at Truman the other day. Really seen some nice quality crappie. My golly, they're catching some good fish. Likewise at Stockton, boy, some good crappie are being caught. So we're going to be talking about this on today's program. Fair bass fishing at Table Rock and over at Beaver, and gosh, still some good trout fishing at Lake Taneycomo. So let's get to rocking and rolling here. Let's start out at Beaver. You know, I tell you, if you want to go out there this weekend, take the kids out, or take your neighbor out, or grandpa out, dad out, go out there and try that trout fishing. They're catching some really nice trout in good numbers at times below the dam at Beaver. And speaking of trout, over on the White River, down below Bull Shoals near Mountain Home, I've had some good reports this week of some nice trout being caught there as well. Boy, I love the White River. I haven't been there for a while. I'm going to go. All right, let's go back to Beaver. On the main lake, they've been picking up some stripers this week, but they're way deep on those real long points. And I understand some of the fish can be 80, 90, maybe 100 feet of water, and they're picking them up out there. At times up on these same points, some of the people are fishing shallower, 15 to 25, occasionally using flicker shads, occasionally or crankbait, picking up walleye out there. Bass fishing's been pretty good at Beaver. They've been going out in early morning hours, picking up a few. The topwater fishing hasn't been great, but they are picking up a few once in a while. And they've been picking up some fish on jigs, flipping jigs or plastics along the brush, the secondary points back into the coves and back into the creek channels, pitching like plastic worms, Texas style. Also, they've just been using some jigs with plastics, flipping. They have been picking up some bass out at Beaver. Okay, other than that, I've had a fair report on crappie fishing this week at Beaver. Some of the docks have been paying off, and other people are going up into the mouth or getting back into the creek areas and finding big balls of shad, getting in there and picking up some nice crappie out at Beaver. Rock Chalk, Table Rock. Okay, let's go to Table Rock. I was out there the other day, picked up a couple fish. Didn't have too much time. One was on the old Ned rig, Mr. Reliable when it's tough. Had one other fish in the early morning hours on a Pop R. Topwater fishing's fair out there. Try the points, the point ends, the main points. No matter what, always have a topwater bait at fingertips with an extra rod and reel, because you never know when a school might come up, a bass pushing shad to the surface. And another thing I would use, as I talked about on last week's program, use a horse head, like a 1/4 ounce horse head with maybe like a 4-inch plastic body on it. And if you have that school come up, you pitch that topwater, they don't hit it. I'm telling you, a lot of times you pitch that horse head out, let it sink 4 or 5 feet of water, and just slow roll it in. You could catch a fish by using this method. Other than that, some people are still drop shotting out in deep water, 40 foot of water. Other people are using that. I'm telling you, they're still catching some fish on peanut butter and jelly football jigs. Yeah, pitch that up on those long gravel points, work it back, or occasionally picking up some fish on this, and flipping jigs around some of the docks, and spoons as well around some of the docks. Okay, a few crappie are being caught like the last couple of weeks. We've been talking about it up in the Cape Fair area. They've been picking up some fish on the deep water brush piles, maybe 15, 20, 25 feet of water, 15, 18 feet, jig and minnow combination. Ooh, that's good. The boys who know where those brush piles are picking up a few fish. and around some of the bluffs in deeper water they're picking up a crappie occasion, and at Table Rock also around some of the docks that have brush. So check this out. Few walleye have been caught, like we've been talking the last couple of weeks here on the program, up the White River and James River arm. I know some boys was out yesterday. They worked awful hard, picked up one fish on a flicker shad. Then they seen some activity on their locator. It was deep, and they put a spoon down there and spooned up a nice 23-inch walleye. So I'd try spoon fishing, flicker shads. Some people have been kind of drifting and casting jig and night crawlers, but a few walleye are being caught up the White River arm on the points, secondary points, and also up the James River arm as well. Okay, let's go to Lake Taneycomo. Good golly molly, they've really been catching a lot of trout out there this week. And they've been generating water mid-morning, late morning. And when they're doing this, night crawlers that we've been talking the last few weeks have been working real good, drifting night crawlers. Other people are using some salmon eggs, the power salmon eggs. They've been using orange, have been working, and pink or white. Try that. And we're not running water. Some people, guys are going out there with that light, ultralight 2-pound test with jigs. Cinnamon seems to be a good color, and also brown with a little bit of chartreuse in that jig, and pitching that 32nd or 64th ounce jig out, letting it fall, working it real slow back in. They're picking up some fish doing this. Good areas to fish would be around Cooper Creek. We've had reports of Monkey Island, and even down around the landing area catching trout this week. Okay, and in the artificial area down below the dam, they've been using some swim baits and also some jerk baits, occasionally picking up some nice trout up in this area. At Bull Shoals, my golly, I had a buddy, acquaintance, call me last night and said he was drift fishing the points at Bull Shoals for catfish. He said, Gary, I've been hearing you on your program talking about the guys drift fishing out at Lake the Ozarks and even at Truman. I tried it at Bull Shoals, and I had one rod with a big gob of worms, earthworms, another rod with cut shad. And he said, I actually caught 2 more fish on the earthworms, the night crawlers, than I did the cut shad, but both of them produced. Fishing the points and secondary points, using an electric motor, I guess, and just kind of drifting along there. And some nice cats. Okay, other than that, bass fishing is about like it's been. We talk about it every week on the program. They get in that summer pattern. It's the same report last week, the week before, week before, week before. Few fish have been caught on topwater. Slowed down a little bit on topwater. But I understand the ones who are, the fish that are hitting topwater are more on a subtle bait like a popper. They don't want a big bait. I think they want a small bait, just a popper, and that might pick you up a fish or two this weekend. And same thing, they're going to the points and secondary points with their electronics and finding schools of shad. And they've been using some drop shots. I know a guy caught a couple good fish the other day. It was so slow, he went to the Ned rig, picked up a couple fish, and swimming and doing a little bit of spooning. And we've had some reports also on the secondary points going back into the creek arms that square-bill crankbaits and slow-rolling spinnerbaits are starting to pay off just a little bit. And speaking of the river areas and the creek arms, we get into the middle of September and October, these shad start moving back into these areas, and they're starting to do that somewhat now. So if you want to experiment in getting back up in some of the creek arms, you can catch fish, I'm sure, on square-bill crankbaits. Rattle traps, not a bad bet. And even try a buzz bait or a slow-rolling spinnerbait up in these areas, at Bull Shoals and Table Rock. Let's go over to, oh, by the way, a few walleye have been caught at Bull Shoals, but slowed down a little bit. They've been drifting some night crawler harnesses, occasionally picking up a walleye, also trolling a flicker shad. I understand that shad colored with a little bit of chartreuse in it has been a good color. Not many people fishing for them right now, but a few walleye are being caught. Okay, I'll tell you one thing, the gosh darn crappie are really hitting good out at Stockton. I've had 3 or 4 good reports. Now I know who you guys are out there using on the flats, on the flats in about 15, maybe even 25 feet of water, pushing and pulling those crankbaits or catching fish. Other people are getting back in the timber and the brush and really picking up some quality fish at Stockton, really nice fish. And they're getting back there with jigs or jigging minnows or minnows and picking up some fish, and really nice fish this week. So you might want to go to Stockton this weekend for crappie. Flats or the timber, the brush. Ooh, sounds good. Few walleye have been caught out at Stockton this week. It's slow, kind of like Truman and I should say at Table Rock and also Bull Shoals. A few walleye are being caught, but they're working for them out at Stockton. Flicker shads have been working, and also jig and night crawlers. Had a good report on catfish being caught out at Stockton as well, using night crawlers and cut shad. Might check this out for you guys who are catfishing at Stockton this weekend. Bass fishing's been fair. Had a good report of quite a few smallmouth, not real big fish, but a lot of fun fish are being caught. Nice smallmouth off the points. So check this out. And the bass fishing's been fair too. So Stockton looks good, but boy, those big nice crappie sound good. Let's go to Truman now. I stopped at Truman the other day, and I want to tell you there's some nice fish being caught out there. On the tree rows, I talked to a couple guys at the boat ramp that had several nice crappie, bigger, real big crappie, nice crappie. And they were catching them off those tree rows, you know, the dead tree rows that come out into the lake. And they said in the morning hours they caught 2 in 6 to 7 foot of water. Then they moved a little bit deeper, 8 to 10 to 12 feet of water. But they caught a lemon, a really nice crappie, by just hitting the tree rows and the pole timber out there. Other people at Truman have been picking up fish on the cedar trees. Check this out, and if you find any willow trees, I'm sure you can pull some out of there as well. But Truman, the pole timber and the cedar trees and those tree rows, ooh, sounds good this weekend. Few walleye have been caught at Truman. They've been picking up these walleye by trolling their flicker shad bait. Some people have been doing a little jig and night crawler fishing, but trolling seems to be the best. There's been several walleye caught out there over the past weekend and this last few days. And try the KK Island area and the points at Truman. I think you can catch some fish. Out at Lake the Ozark, they've been drift fishing and still catching cats out there on cut shad and just cut shad and sunfish. And the shad seems to be a little bit better. Other people have been using balls of worm. And crappie fishing continues to be good on the points and secondary points. Now the brush areas off these points have been producing some smaller fish on minnows, but they're catching some keepers. And other people are using crankbaits at Lake the Ozarks and really catching some bigger fish. So try the points and secondary points, and hey, try some minnow fishing and jig fishing around some of the docks. And we've had reports of the bass fishing. Not many people bass fishing this week, but they are picking up some fish on square-billed crankbaits, slow rolling spinner baits, and some jerkbait fishing out there. And what I had a report there the other day, they were picking up some fish on swim baits. So check this out. Quick report at Norfolk. Just like the last couple of weeks, they've been picking up some fish on the brushy areas in about 25, 30 feet of water on jig and night crawler combination. Other people have been spooning out there, and they're picking up some real nice walleye on occasion out at Norfolk. Stripers, I heard, are way deep and using big spoons. Hey, one other quick report. I did have a report at Pomme de Terre, and some of the boys that knows what they're doing, getting out in those deep water brush piles around some of the docks, are picking up crappie, and some of the brush piles out on the main lake. So check this out as well. A few nice bass have been caught. Nothing to report on the muskies yet out at Pomme de Terre. Well, that's our program for the day. Want to thank you very much for being with us, and thank all you people over on Facebook. Gosh darn, a lot of you folks are over there. God bless you. And be sure to like and share, and be sure to subscribe. And if you have any photos or information, send it to us through our email. Email us at fishingchums@gmail.com. God bless you. Take plenty of water. Go out and get bit this weekend. See you next week.